Okay, Christina here to listen to some music, and today's music selection is The Return of the Giant Hogweed by Genesis. Okay, so this is the first Genesis reaction on the channel. I know of this band. I've always heard of them. I believe I've heard a song or two of theirs on the radio, but I've never taken a close look. I don't own any of their albums. I just have heard a song or two, like the most popular ones on the radio station in passing over the years, or maybe playing in the background when I was a kid playing at the public pool. But I do also know that Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins were both members of this group, and I do know of them separately. I know of at least one song by each of them. Phil Collins, there was something like in the early 90s, something about like Paradise, You and Me in Paradise. I kind of liked that song at one point. And then Peter Gabriel, it was a really cool video, had a bunch of fruit, and it was like stop motion sledgehammer. Okay, so now there was one other one, another video having to do with like puppets or something, and I remember like a puppet of Ronald Reagan. Is that a thing? Or was that just like a fever dream of mine as a kid? I don't know. All right, so not sure what we're getting into, really. I just know that these people exist. I'm sure I've liked one or two of these songs over the years, and that's about it. It's a really surfacey exposure here, y'all. So I would never have guessed. Honestly, I didn't know that these two were together in this band until I started the channel and I'm learning all of this. I was like, oh, I just always kind of knew of like Genesis and Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. I didn't know that they were in a band together, and I didn't know that this band went back that far. So I know it's prog rock, and that's all I know. So I am super interested to find out what this is about, including this really interesting song title. All right, so without any further delay, let's get into this. Oh, but first, what are we doing here exactly? Right, so those of you still getting to know me, I am a professional, classically trained musician, instrumentalist, vocalist, composer, and university professor. So we dig into all different aspects of this music. You never know what we're going to talk about. I learn a little something, hopefully you all learn a little something, and we have a great time. So now, without any further delay, let's listen. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's go. Okay. Wow, this is all very sort of amorphous and very creative. I really didn't know what to expect going into this except other than prog rock, and so now I kind of know what that is. Thank you to the channel. Yes, everyone who has recommended, suggested, made direct requests for any of the prog rock. I so love this journey, and this is obviously part of that because I definitely am recognizing that aesthetic here. And I think I have enough different bands with my prog rock journey now to really start accurately making some good comparisons. I would say that this group is a little edgy and unpredictable. So my prediction here is that they're unpredictable now, I guess. I believe that that's Peter Gabriel singing, but it's a slightly different tone. I'm just trying to remember. I know what his voice sounds like in Sledgehammer. So, but I don't know. Phil Collins kind of sounds like that too, which makes sense that they're in a band together. They share a certain quality, sort of a swallowed quality in the tone of their voices. So, really interesting intro. Excellent musicianship. Really great drumming. I'm assuming that's Collins on there. I've always known he's a drummer, I guess, but I've never really been able to appreciate that. Still have no idea what this is about. I'm going to back it up just a little bit. We kind of hit sort of a low spot. You know, maybe we're going to return to some of the stuff we already heard. I don't know. We already heard a good mix of stuff. All right, let's just keep going. Here we go. Okay. This is so weird. I mean, it's really, really great stuff, but it's just so weird. But sometimes weird is good. So maybe I just need to look at the lyrics quickly, though. Maybe it's time. Because, like, what in the world? The Return of the Giant Hogweed. Is this sort of a children's tale that maybe I don't, as an American, maybe I don't know about it? So if it is, I apologize. Turn and run, nothing can stop them. Okay? Canal, their power is growing. Stamp them out, we must destroy them. Okay. Who are we talking about? They're invincible. Hogweed. Okay. So the Victorian explorer found the hogweed, brought it home, and now it's becoming invasive. Okay. They are defenseless. They all need the sun to photosynthesize their venom. Okay. Soon they escaped, spreading their seed, preparing for an onslaught, threatening the human race. Okay, I think I am remembering something. The giant hogweed, is it really super poisonous? I don't think we have it here in the United States. So, I mean, we might in certain places. I've never lived in a place where this existed, but I actually am remembering something about that now, that it is this giant plant that if you touch it, it gives you blisters and things like that. I've learned with prog rock not to take it too seriously, so I'm going to take this just at face value and we're just going to keep going. All right, but at least now I know what they're sort of yelling about. There's a lot of yelling in this, like through the text, through the lyrics. All right, here we go. We're going to keep going. Here we go. Okay, I just gotta stop. Again, gotta let it soak into my brain a little bit. That new little section with the piano is interesting. Okay, but then the flute, there was flute and guitar, and they kept switching who had, the upper notes and the lower notes. That was really neat. The fact that there's a flute there at all. I mean, I have been reacting to some Jethro Tull here on the channel, but this is a different kind of flute, not really jazz flute, but a little more calm than that, but still interesting. Just so many flavors here, so many colors, so many keys, time changes. Again, really amorphous and really, really cool. Okay, I want to back it up and hear a little bit of the piano section that just came in. That was a cool thing, something new. I mean, there have been lots of new things, but this was like extra new. Okay, here we go. What is coming next? All right, I'm going to stop it one more time. That was a really cool instrumental little interlude there. That was really, really neat. I loved how the piano kind of repeated itself like a basso continuo. Almost little hints of Baroque or classical writing in there, especially Baroque, where there is that repeating line in the bass or in the lower parts, in the foundational parts. Okay, but then we're getting more into the screaming. I figured the vocals would come back at some point, but who knows? I mean, I was just wanting to hear a little bit more. But this proclamation screaming kind of singing here, and again, I think that's Peter Gabriel, but it's coming back. We've got a recap here, coming back. I can't even tell you how many keys and time signatures I've heard so far. That makes for the excitement in this little journey here. Okay, it almost seems like a sea shanty here now. It kind of it's just all over the place. All right, let's back it up a little bit and see how this closes out. Okay. Wow. Just wow. Whew. Okay. So do I make some comparisons here? 1971. Okay, so I'm not sure then if they did this first or if some of these other groups, because some of the dates are kind of swirling together in my head now, but I am hearing bits and pieces of Yes, like specifically Roundabout, and Rush, like Xanadu. And so I know my experience with some of these bands is still just beginning, but I believe I've been able to sample the different flavors of prog rock here, and I definitely I can taste all of that in this piece, and it's really, really something. Some of the modulations there with the chords towards the end were really, really cool, and a couple of, dissonant chords there. I love that stuff. I love dissonance in music, so some people kind of like the straight and narrow, more Mozartian kind of sounds. I do as well, but I like when the boundaries are pushed a little bit, and I feel like that's what this was doing. So I said that originally it was a little bit more structured, like in the intro, it sounded more Baroque, and then about 2/3 of the way through, I think there was, maybe halfway through, there was the keyboard section. So I guess what I'm sensing is that there was this musical structure and the foundation kind of in and out throughout the whole thing. And then that sort of held up the chaos that was all above it. But then towards the end, it became a little bit more grandeur, and it started pushing those boundaries. And that really reminds me a lot of Beethoven. So Mozart did this also, but Beethoven lived a little longer. And his music writing brought us from the classical era into the romantic era. So I feel almost like there was a transformation happening at the end of this song, including the final big ending, like the big grand chord. And, Beethoven is almost known for that, kind of like dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. He just kind of goes on and on. And I mean, it's all very good music, but that is, one of his little fingerprints there that he does in his music. So with this, I just feel like there's a lot of possible classical music influence as far as the understanding of the composition of it in what these guys have come up with for this music. I'm also sensing a lot of jazz, except I don't think it's improvised. It's very well planned, but it makes you feel like you're listening to something more improvisational. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea that there is a song written about giant weeds. If I'm correct in what I'm remembering, they are pretty vicious. Like, they make you bleed, and like poison ivy, I guess, maybe is sort of an equivalent that we have here in the United States. But at the same time, I think this is just a lot more volatile. I'm just curious as to why did they choose this? Is it like a children's nursery rhyme? I am seeing here that the name of the album is Nursery Crime. So is the entire album this way? Well, go ahead and put it in the comments, and also let me know what other things either from this group or this album I should listen to make this make more sense. But until I continue on in this journey, I'm going to try to make sense of this song a little bit now. Okay, I want to go back to the beginning and hear how it started. How did this journey begin? It was so long ago. All of this amorphous stuff that we went through, like what in the world? How did this even start out? All right, I just want to be reminded. Here we go. And they go in octaves, into unison, but in octaves there. Very interesting. We've got the harmonies. Listen to that drum work. Yeah. Yeah. And then these octaves, octave stuff. Okay, really, really inventive stuff here. So the voices, were there two different people singing? Were there two people singing at the same time? I know I heard Peter Gabriel's voice. I can recognize his voice. And I can also hear Phil Collins' voice in my head, but I don't know if I heard it here. But at the same time, again, they both sort of share that swallowed sound, that timbre to their voices, which is why they're great to be in a band together. And then, of course, at some point they split. Was there a big to-do about that? Did they have some arguments? And then, okay, leave in the comments if you know. Again, I just want to learn more about this. Okay, let's see what else we can find. I wanted to highlight some of the really neat rhythmic changes. Let's see if we can find one. That's the jazz element that I'm talking about. The modulations, like how they get from one key to the next, how the transitions are sort of abbreviated almost, and they're not symmetrical. They take you by surprise. It just feels like improv, but it's not. That takes a lot to write that music and then to learn it and get it all rehearsed so that you get it just right. They must have been amazing playing this live. I may have to see about seeing them do some live shows because it's amazing just hearing the studio version, but reproducing that live is another thing. Oh, but it's just so inventive. All right, let's just move forward. What was it? Another thing, the flute stuff was really neat. Let's see if we can find that. Okay, no, wait. Is this Phil Collins? I don't know, it just sounds different, but also it's doubled. So are there two people singing or are they just doubled? Because the louder screaming stuff, I believe, is Peter Gabriel. Let's see if we can find that. No, I'm not sure. That's not a good example, but that was so cool, right? All of the time changes and, well, mainly the key changes there, but so good. Let's see if I can find another thing where I'm positive that it was Peter Gabriel singing. Yeah, that's got to be Peter Gabriel there. So I just have to say, as I'm looking through, so sometimes I hit the example that I'm looking for right away, and sometimes I don't. I try to edit that out because you all don't want to sit there for 20 minutes watching me try to find the exact example. But just flipping through this song, it just doesn't even sound like the same song going all the way through it. It's so creative and diverse. It's really, really cool. Okay, so I do want to try to find the piano part. It was sort of a lull in the song, and we kind of need that. It's so chaotic that we need that part to sort of regroup. And so it started out more structured, and there was a slow intro of the energy and like the drums finally coming in, and then the energy from the sort of the screaming voice. But this piano, when it was introduced, it was a little bit more traditional. Let's see if we can find it. And I was going to find the flute too. We'll go back to that in a second. Something like that. That's a pretty standard chord, the octave chords with the fifth in piano playing, and So it's really pretty simple, but profound at the same time because you haven't heard that instrument at this point yet. And then it goes into what I was thinking of, like this Baroque basso continuo, which literally just means continued bass part. Yeah, so that right there, it just happens over and over again. Still going. Still going. Yeah, so it's just sort of this foundation that sort of sets us right in all of this chaos. And so what I am likening it to is, for instance, like Pachelbel's Canon in D. And so for those of you that know the that's the one. So with all of that stuff going on in the top parts, and they sort of come in, that's why it's a canon. One voice comes in, and then 2 bars later, the next voice comes in and plays the same thing, and then 2 bars later, the next one comes in and plays the same thing. But all the while, the bass instruments, usually the cello, if it's in a string quartet, for instance, is playing the... They're playing that very slowly over and over again. And so I feel like that thing is sort of kind of acting in the same manner. That's just how I'm seeing it. All right, so let's try to find the flute. I'm going to go back and find that really cool flute part. It deserves some attention. So it was in unison with the guitar, but then it jumped up to the octave. There, so now the flute's down here and the guitar's way up there. And then they jump back to the unison. Oh, that's so cool. That is so weirdly cool. Okay, so I want to go again to the end because, you know, how do you end this? How do you land this giant balloon, right? We've been flying around all over up in the air, and how do we get back down to the ground? Okay, let's review that. Yeah, so I'm going to stick with my Beethoven analogy here because it's almost like a tour of keys here, like an exposition in Sonato Allegro form. It's what the first movement is in a symphony, and you have the exploration of all of the keys where you take the main theme is stated at the beginning, and then you kind of take it through all these different key changes all the way through. And so that's kind of what this is, sort of. And then all of a sudden, one really dissonant chord is thrown in there. And so Beethoven is known for doing that as well. It wasn't just Beethoven. Brahms also did this a little bit. For instance, the opening to the fourth movement of Symphony No. 4. He starts out with these brass chords, and then all of a sudden, one of them is just a little bit weird. And it makes you think, where are we going with this? But it's also very exciting. That is kind of the excitement that I was seeing within these chords. Let's see if we can hear a little bit of that again. Can we do it again? Okay, that's just way too much fun. Okay, that was Genesis, 1971, The Return of the Giant Hogweed. Had no idea what I was getting into. Still kind of don't know what I just got into. Maybe I feel like I got into a patch of weeds. We'll have to see. Am I going to get blisters? And no, this was actually really, really fun. And like the definition of prog rock, I think for me, weird, just weird. Weird lyrics, weird chord progressions, weird time signatures, weird instrumentation, weird message, perhaps, maybe no message at all. Just weird. And I love it. It's gloriously weird. That can be its own subgenre, I guess. Gloriously weird music. Whew, is this going on my playlist? Yeah, this is going to go on my playlist. Would I listen to this at any time on any given day? Maybe not. I might need to be in a more energetic mood, or maybe needing a more energetic mood. There's something about this that's very driving and very, there's a seriousness to it. But at the same time, though it seems almost improv or unpredictable, there actually is some grace and beauty to it. You just have to listen a little closely, but the bones of it are there. And my classically trained ear, and am I hearing things that are not really there, that just happen to be there, just a coincidence? I don't know. I think these musicians are pretty high-level musicians, and so I wouldn't put it past them to have planted all of these things there purposefully. So, well, if they did, I caught them, and if not, they managed to write something that my classical ears really were able to grab onto and notice some big foundational concepts in there musically, and that was a lot of fun. And this is just the first song of this group. What else is this group going to bring forth? I cannot wait. So be sure to put in the comments other suggestions, albums or songs off of this album by Genesis. I believe the group went through a lot of changes and transitions in their music styles, I think. I don't know. And maybe that's one reason why maybe the group split eventually. Like I said, I honestly didn't realize that Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel were actually part of Genesis. I think I knew Phil Collins was, but I didn't realize Peter Gabriel. I just knew him as the sledgehammer guy with the cool video on MTV with all the fruit and the stop motion stuff. As a kid, we thought that was the coolest. So a little quirky and weird, right? But very, very cool. So this is quirky and weird, but it was pretty awesome. I'm glad to know it. And I definitely will be listening to some more. All right. So don't forget to do all the things, like and subscribe. You can become a patron on Patreon, make direct requests or support the channel through Coffee. You can become a channel member. We're having a great time. Lots of great music discussions on all these platforms. And this is just a great experience, hopefully for all of us. And as always, just remember that you don't have to be perfect. Be gloriously weird and just be okay. And keep listening.